Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's me once again, your boy the man, entered to the city with the number 2 in TO. You know what's up, let's go. 8 seconds, 9 seconds, 10 seconds. Yeah, let's go back into what we were going into yesterday when it comes to the topics of, again, back to sports pretty much. And we want to mean about back to sports because once again, Jay Cutler has inked a 1-year deal with the Miami Dolphins. And my take on that is I'm not hugely excited about that because honestly, I wanted Matt Moore to play it out, and then if he didn't do good, I wanted my young boys of Brandon Doughty and David Fales. Even though I think David Fales is like 27 years old, but still, I'm still willing to call him young because again, 27 is not old, but at the same time, you are even in your late 20s and so forth and so forth. But just like 30 is not old, but you are pretty much considered in your prime. But you get the point. I really would like to see Brandon Doughty and or David Fales take over the reins because no offense to Ryan Tannehill, but I think he should go back to playing wide receiver, which is what he was before he was a quarterback. At Texas A&M. So I really think that Ryan Tannehill should go back to playing wide receiver, which is, again, the position he was before he was a quarterback at Texas A&M. Now, I could be wrong, but this is just my opinion. That's what I think he should go back to doing. But now that Jay Cutler has this 1-year deal with them, I'm thinking that it's a better chance that Jay Cutler, I hate to say it, but it's a better chance that Jay Cutler might end up taking Tannehill's job now. What I mean by taking his job is like, if he plays well enough, and I mean if he plays well enough, I think there's a good chance that Cutler might end up taking Tannehill's job for the long haul. But that's just my personal opinion. I could be wrong. Because honestly, I think even if Cutler does play well, I don't think that a lot of other NFL teams are going to be scouring to try to go and get him. Because it's really, for example, one of the reasons why Colin Kaepernick decided to opt out of the deal is because, just like Robert Griffin III and how many other quarterbacks out there thought that there were markets for them. And if you ask me, there are markets for them. It's just those teams don't want to sign them for God knows whatever else reason. So my opinion is Cutler, if he plays well enough, he might end up taking Ryan Tannehill's job for the long haul. And if that were to happen, I don't know where Tannehill's going if that were to happen. But that is definitely my quick analysis on that. Colin Kaepernick, I do wish him the best of getting back into the NFL because, like I said, I'm going to go into Tebow in a bit here. And once again, I am one of the biggest Tebow fans you'll probably ever meet, or at least in East High School, I am one of the biggest Tebow fans you'll ever meet. But I'm going to go into Tim Tebow, and I'm going to go into him and his situation. His situation as in the one he was dealing with 2 years ago when he was on the Eagles roster. I'm going to go over that in this episode of, not really the viewpoints, I would say B&E TV Sports or Sports Update or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, Jay Cutler signs that 1-year, $10 million deal with the Dolphins, and like I said, I would have rather see Matt Moore play it out, and if he didn't play good, see my boys Brandon Doughty and David Fales go at it. That's what I would have rather to see. But just because it's what I would rather to see isn't what everyone else would rather see or what the coach would rather see. But I'm telling you, you're never going to fully find your franchise guy if you're not willing to give those guys that you've been sitting for years those opportunities to finally take the job. If you ask me, you're not really going to find your franchise guy and find a guy that's going to lift you to not only to the playoffs but hopefully to the conference championship. You're never going to find those guys if you're not willing to give those guys that have been career backups for at least the last 4, 5, 6, 7 years. You're not going to reach those potentials if you don't give those guys their opportunities to finally take and seize and own that starting job. That's just my opinion. Now, but I still wish Jay Cutler the best. Don't think I'm wishing any bad on him. I still wish him the best, but we definitely shall see what comes about when it comes to him being there for 1 year. We definitely will see what comes about. Now, one of the top things that I was focusing on last night, or one of the top things I've been focusing on for the past few weeks when it comes to talking about sports, Chip Kelly back in 2015, I believe that was. Yeah, he absolutely screwed Tim Tebow. And you probably like, how? Think about it, because this was the most. I feel like this is the definition of being stabbed in the back to a certain degree. How in the world does Chip Kelly cut Tim Tebow and say he needs more reps? Which is, I believe, what he said at the press conference. Tebow needs more reps. How do you cut Tim Tebow? That was either 2014, 2015. Pretty sure it was 2015. Because I remember it was 2013 or 14 he got signed by the Patriots. So, yeah, I think that was 2015 he got signed by the Eagles. But I remember Chip Kelly saying that Tebow needed more reps, which is one of the top reasons why everybody keeps telling him to go over there to the CFL. But Tebow says, no, I want to be an NFL quarterback. Because he has been an NFL quarterback, but he says, like, no, I know I can make it in the NFL. And if you ask me, even when his throwing motion, wasn't all that, or wasn't what it is now in the beginning of his career, because right now it's way better than it was at the beginning of his career when he was a rookie and nobody was really working with him like that to retool his mechanics. And even then, he was still a winner. Even then, he was still putting his team in, not all the time, but definitely at times, he was definitely putting his, team in positions to win. Like, he is still worth the look at. Not only worth the look at, he's worth the roster spot, really. If you ask me, Tim Tebow is worth the roster spot. And if you ask me, for example, all three Florida franchises of the Dolphins, the Jaguars, and the Buccaneers, we can actually just exempt the Buccaneers from this because they got Jameis Winston, so we can exempt them from this. And you probably like, okay, then why not exempt Blake Bortles from this when it comes to the Jaguars? Because number one, hometown, number one. The only reason why we drafted Blake Bortles was because of the fact being that Blake Bortles again, it's not the fans didn't want him. We didn't want him. It's not the fans didn't want Tebow. The fans wanted Tebow. The organization itself didn't want Tebow. They wasn't willing to give him a second chance to come here after he, after he chose. He had a decision back in 2013, I guess it was, or 12, whatever year that was. He had the choice of whether to go to Jacksonville or New York. He had that choice, and he chose to go to New York. Now, I can't tell you why he chose to go to New York. I can't tell you why. Honestly, I really kind of wish Tebow would even go on television and tell people why he chose to go to New York instead of Jacksonville when the opportunity was right there in front of you. And the problem is the people of the organization have not, if you ask me, they've not been able to get over that fact, or at least David Caldwell has not been able to get over that fact that and I'm saying this from what I've heard in the news about Tebow having that opportunity. The thing is, you have to be willing to, again, especially if you are a true Christian, you have to be willing to cut those losses. And I mean, cut those losses. You have to be willing to forgive and forget, and really do what's best for the franchise. Because since you have not signed Tim Tebow, you realize what the last 4 or 5 years of your franchise has gone pretty much down the drain. Losing season after losing season after losing season. So honestly, like I say, you would have been better off swallowing whatever bits of pride you had, signing Tim Tebow. But this is all coming from my I guess you could say, me being an analyst. All these opinions are coming from me being an analyst, from what I see, and then from and what I'm studying and everything else like that when it comes to these sports. What I'm saying definitely is that the Jaguars should have signed Tebow back then 2-3 years ago. They should have signed him. I'm telling you. It was okay for them to draft Blake. I'm not fully condemning them for that. But they should have signed Tebow and had Tim Tebow versus Blake is what they should have done, if you ask me. You're probably like, why? Because no offense to Chad Henne, but I don't buy him as a backup. I don't buy him as a starter or a backup because Chad Henne, just like Blaine Gabbert, has had multiple opportunities, even though Blaine Gabbert is over there in Arizona doing his thing now. But Chad Henne has had he had 2 straight seasons, if I'm not wrong, 2 straight seasons to prove, hey, I can be your starter. But if you ask me, he didn't even prove it. He should be our backup, if you ask me. And why? Because just like Blaine Gabbert, they only won 1 game for God knows whatever reason. Like Blaine 1-on-1, Chad 1-on-1. They still wasn't winning. That's the thing. And usually, if you're gonna be a backup, like I say, I think the backups should always be just as good as the starters, or if not better than the starters. And if you ask me, all the evidence proves that Chad Henne, for me, shouldn't even be on the roster as a quarterback. But this is just my opinion, by the way, my opinion. Chad Henne shouldn't even be on our roster anymore. I don't know why he is still on the roster. But again, it's still more life, more blessings to you, Chad Henne. But I'm just saying, I don't think that you should still even be on the roster anymore, because you had your opportunity to prove that you can even be our starter. And again, just like Blaine Gabbert, 2-3 years ago, whatever, season that was, you only won one game for us. And you had like 5, 6, 7 games to play. You get the point. And I'm telling you, Tim Tebow should have been right there competing with Blake Bortles the entire time. And if you ask me, that's one of the top reasons why the Jaguars have had losing season after losing season after losing season, because they have never gotten it right when it comes to that quarterback position over the last probably 5 or more years. They've not gotten it right, but they've had multiple opportunities to get it right, but they have not. And one of the top ways to get it right, I'm telling you, if they had, again, I'm not saying Tebow had to be your starter. I'm saying just have him on the team and let's see what goes. And I mean, have him on this team. Have him on the team as a quarterback, whether it's third string or second string or even starter. But if Blake Bortles proves that he should have been a starter, okay, have Tebow be his backup, and we'll see where that gets you. Because I don't personally think that if Blake Bortles, I don't think that in his rookie year, for example, if Tebow was there in Blake's rookie year, back in 2015, if Blake was there, I can't fully tell you what people have been clamoring. Like, I mean, if they had both Blake and Tebow on the same roster back there in 2014, I can't fully tell you whether the fans would have still been clamoring for Tim if Blake was out there. He still couldn't play up to his potential. I can't tell you whether we wouldn't have been still saying, put Tebow in there, put Tebow in there, put Tebow. I can't tell you, because again, you got Blake Bortles, a rookie that you drafted 3 overall, so I can't tell you. But I can definitely tell you that it probably might have been smart enough to maybe have Tebow in there in 2015 and as your starter, and then have Blake learning from him. But then you wouldn't have drafted Blake 3rd overall. But if you ask me, there was enough market for Blake in that draft where you didn't have to draft him 3rd overall. You probably could have drafted him somewhere in the 1st round, or maybe even 2nd round. If you ask me, I don't think we had to take him 3rd overall, but we did, so forth and so forth. But my biggest play analysis is it's really disgusting to know that what Chip Kelly did. He said that Tim Tebow needed more reps, right? Which is one of the top reasons why they keep telling him to go to CFL. But he said Tim Tebow needed more reps. So what happened was, but here's the thing: how are you going to say he needs more reps, cut him, and then go get Stephen Morris, who's currently on currently on the Indianapolis Colts? But how are you going to cut Tebow to then go get Stephen Morris from the Jaguars? That was the most insult. Who hadn't even started a game. Let me tell you that. Who hadn't even started. Stephen Morris hasn't even started an NFL regular season game or even an NFL preseason game. He's played in an NFL preseason game with the Jaguars, but he hasn't even played in an NFL regular season game. He hasn't started an NFL regular season game. So that I feel like that was just a slap in the face and a cheap shot to Tim Tebow. And if you ask me, that's why that year went down the drain the way it did for Chip Kelly. Because of that exact reason. Like, how are you going to say Tebow needs more reps, cut him, and then go get a third string from Jacksonville, from the state of Florida, who hasn't even started a regular season game, hasn't even played in a regular season game? Like, legitimately. I think that was one of the biggest slap in the faces that you could give any player. And if you ask me, Chip Kelly cursed himself and cursed the Eagles that season, and that's why even playing for the okay, I'm gonna go further into this analysis again. So thank you all for watching, viewing, listening, subscribing. Me, your boy, the man, Angel to the City out. Peace. Thank you. Take